Okay? Some details on third-party payments on that slide. The opposite or the corollary to a third-party payment that people confuse with third-party payments are payments to subcontractors. Payment to a subcontractor is exactly that. Anyone other than a government research institution who's a taxable Canadian supplier. So somebody does your testing, maybe a software company that comes and does work for you. Anyone who does the research as an employee would, but invoices you instead of getting a T4 slip. One of the key things is the work is physically performed in Canada. They want that to be there, and you just self-assess on that. They only want up to 10% to be outside of Canada. One of the key issues is the subcontractor at arm's length, or do I control the company? Basically, the rules work that if I have a subsidiary company, it does $100 of work for me to make a part that I need for my SR&ED project. I can only claim the $100 of cost that my subsidiary company incurred, even if I take that $100 part and sell it to my parent company for $1,000. So a lot of companies were abusing these rules. They were spending $100 in a subsidiary, selling it to the parent for $1,000, maybe selling it to another company for $10,000, all of which is under their common control, and on a $100 expenditure, getting credits on $10,000. Okay? Again, this got challenged. CRA got very upset when they found this. They reported it to finance, who passed new rules that kind of negatively affect anyone now. They say if a payment's non-arm's length, it's deemed to be nil. You can't claim a non-arm's length payment. The only way you can claim it is you have your subsidiary company that did the work file its own claim for SR&ED based on its own cost. As soon as it does that, that gives the CRA the right to go in and review the records and financial and technical records of that company and make sure that only the true supportable costs are claimed through whatever records that it has, and that company can either claim it itself or elect to transfer that expense to the non-arm's length company. They don't really care whether you keep the money in one company or transfer it. Yes? Pardon me? That's a really good question. So the question is, and that's another gray area, what if I pay a lawyer to do patent searches for me? Now, sadly, I've been through this in great detail. What I concluded, I'll give you my conclusion at the end of the day. If you look at Reg 2902, prescribed expenses, it says there's certain expenses that, even if they're related to SR&ED, you never get credits on. One of them is legal or accounting fees. So the answer is if you pay a lawyer to do a patent search, no. But if you pay an engineering firm or a paralegal or other kind of thing that's not a lawyer, then the answer is yes, you can claim that as information. So CRA's been sticky. They're saying, hey, it's got to be related to technology, the patent search. If I have a legal firm do it, no, the rules catch me because it's a legal or accounting fee. But if I have the same work done by engineering firms or other guys who do these kind of patent searches, and it's not a legal fee, then CRA will accept that as in. Well, even that, you know what, paralegal is a dangerous one too. If you see the word legal at all, then they'll say that's a legal or accounting fee. If it's, but there's engineering firms and stuff that do these kinds of searches now for you too, and as long as it's not a legal or accounting fee, they'll tend to let it go. As soon as they see legal or accounting fee, prescribed expense, the financial reviewer is trained to pull those out.
So many lawyers are engineers.
Yeah, so if they invoice P-Eng, that's fine. As soon as they see the legal fee, and I mean these are semantics. You're saying, but it's the same work. CRA interprets it. They say, no, the law's clear. Legal or accounting fee is out, prescribed. Okay, so the subcontractor basically has to be a taxable supplier. The way that they get that is they ask you for each subcontractor, give us their name and their business number. And then they say a brief statement of work. What did they do? When they run this business number, they're going to figure out if the subcontractor filed the claim for SR&ED immediately. Ooh, did they file a claim for that year? And then the next question that the computers are going to start looking at is, did they double dip? Did I hire your company, pay you $100,000, you claim whatever expenses you had for SR&ED, and then I claimed again by claiming the $100,000 that I paid you. So effectively, let's say you spent $80,000 on the SR&ED, you claimed it, I paid you $100,000 for it, and now I claim the $100,000. In the CRA's eyes, we've double dipped. We've claimed the same $80,000 twice. You really only spent $80, you claimed it, sold it to me for $100, and then I claimed another $100. So we've claimed $180 on $80,000 of expenses. The way the rules work is, In the absence of an agreement, you're deemed to have received assistance, a contract payment they call it. So in this case, if you spent $80,000 and received $100, you could claim the 80, but then you have to reduce it by any amounts up to that. So you'd have to reduce it by 80. You got your full 80 back, and I can claim the 100,000. On the opposite, CRA says they don't actually care who claims. The performer or the payer could claim, but they want you to agree in the contract who claims. So they put the following line. In the event that any of the work that I do for you is SR&ED, I get the rights to the credits. Then it's your credits. CRA is saying you should have a written contract for all SR&ED and talk about things like material terms. How much are you going to pay me? When are you going to pay me? What are you going to do for me? Who gets the credits? They're saying these are just commercial obligations that should be agreed. And the lack of an agreement, if you claim and I claim, and I've been involved as an arbitrator in situations like this, it's always really messy, and they tend to always catch it. And heaven forbid, those two companies aren't on favorable terms anymore, it's really bad. I had one situation where I told my client, very large client, to put this in all his contracts, and one of their contractors came back and said, hey, if you make me sign this, we're not ever going to work for you again. I said, what do you mean? Like, we paid you millions of dollars last year. I said, no, no, we're claiming all these credits. And what was funny is, my client was so big that they were already back at the 20%. They'd gone over their $3 million limit, so they're only getting 20 cents on the dollar. The other company was a CCPC, and we said, hey, you're getting 40-something cents on the dollar. Why don't we split it 20-20, which is all we would have got anyways. So we ended up in the same position, and the other client was happy too. So, I mean, they didn't know what level we were at. We just made what appeared to be a win-win position for everyone. So, again, you want to be aware of that, and the client did it the right way. They agreed before they claimed, instead of both claiming the same work twice and then going back to argue about who really owns those credits.
What I hear you saying is that the subcontractor, if he's selling his work, really doesn't get a claim. Because he's going to show income of 100 and costs of 80, so he had no costs.
If he sells to another Canadian company who's claiming it, then that's a contract payment. So to make it a contract payment, the work has to be performed for another Canadian corporation that files a claim under Section 37. If I do the work for you and you don't claim SR&ED, that's not a contract payment.
Okay, so
the only way it is if you claim that work for your SR&ED claim.
If the payor is not claiming it as shred or not including it
then
as
it's not a
cost,
contract payment
then
under
it's not income.
under 127 sub 9. Okay? Which is why they say in a contract, I'll do the work for you, let's agree. You're claiming or I'm claiming. CRA doesn't care. Hey, whoever claims, performer, payer, we don't care. Do not claim the same work twice is all that they're asking. Other than cost overruns. In the other case, let's say I paid you 80, but you had 100,000 of costs. You could claim the 100, reduce it by the 80, you'd still get credits on what you didn't get reimbursed for, what I didn't claim.
I was wondering about like cross borders, like if a Canadian company is a subcontractor to an American company.
Yep.
So the work we're doing here in Canada, you know.
Beautiful. If you can get money into Canada for doing SR&ED, the U.S. company can't file a claim under 37 because they don't file a Canadian tax return, right?
Okay.
No problem. The only risk is if it's like another U.S. government. Okay? If the government does a contract, that's fine. If the government pays you a grant or something, CRA says it's still government assistance. I'm saying, what? It's a foreign government. They're like, the act doesn't differentiate. They just say government assistance. Contract with the government? No, fine. Hey, here's a contract. I'll pay NASA will pay me $100,000 to do this.
Right.
Perfect. NASA gives me a grant for 100. Problem. Okay. Any other questions on it? Yeah.
What if you have an employee that is doing R&D and you also subcontract some additional R&D work? How do you deal with
Then you have to claim them twice. You claim the wages as an employee, and then you claim the subcontractors. I've seen that happen a number of times. Ideally with a GST number if they have that.